So, as we move into anatomy and physiology, one of the things I want to make sure we do is take some time to review some topics that will be useful to you as we move through the year. Chemistry is one of those topics because really when we start thinking about the human body, one of the things that we realize is that it is really just a chemical machine doing chemical reactions to maintain its chemical structure. So understanding that chemistry can be really useful for carrying on through the year. So you should be familiar with atomic structure. We have a nucleus with protons and neutrons, and then we have electrons in the electron cloud. And there are the principal elements that we're going to use in any organic molecule: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Those are the big ones that we see show up all the time in organic molecules. And this is where things really start to get important. Bonding and how molecules are arranged becomes really important when we start using them for chemical reactions in the body, and how they interact with the structures of the body. Different molecule structures interact with the body differently. So remember, ionic bonds are made of cations and anions, and those cations have a positive charge overall, and the anions have a negative charge overall. And these are interacting based on the exchange of electrons between the two nuclei. And those positive and negative ends become very useful when we start needing to do things like send electrical impulses along a neuron. So having a good foundation in how bonding, particularly ionic bonding, works is really important. Covalent bonds, remember, these are produced by the sharing of electrons between two nuclei. They can be either polar or nonpolar. And remember that polar means that the electrons are shared unevenly, whereas nonpolar, the electrons are shared evenly. So these are situations where we can also have interactions between cellular structures and these molecules based on their makeup. Hydrogen bonds are also very important because a lot of what holds the molecules together in the body is hydrogen bonds, because we are mostly water. And so having a good understanding of what causes hydrogen bonds, it's an attraction between two polar molecules, because one end is slightly negative and one end is slightly positive, so they form a bond, as it were. This is an intermolecular force, but because we're working in the biology side, we call it a hydrogen bond. Types of reactions. We remember the body is doing thousands of reactions every second in order to maintain itself. So you need to remember decomposition reactions, because that is catabolism. That's breaking apart a molecule into its constituent parts. Then we have synthesis reactions, where we take two parts and make them a whole. This is anabolism. Catabolism and anabolism are the two sides of metabolism. So metabolism is not just the breaking down of your food, it's the breaking down of your food and the building up of molecules as a result of breaking down that food. We have single replacement, where we're trading out one part of a molecule, or double replacement, where the molecules are switching partners. We have combustion. Combustion is taking a carbon-based molecule combining it with oxygen, and you release CO2 and H2O. That is how cellular respiration works. Cellular respiration, at its core, is a combustion reaction. We have neutralization. This is where we take an acid and a base, and we are able to get water and a combination of the two. So here we have some examples of that. And this all comes down to the fact that we have to carry out chemical reactions all the time to keep our body going. And so one of the things that we have in our body to help us do that is enzymes. Enzymes are specialized proteins that lower the activation of a chemical reaction in order to help the reaction occur at a rate that will keep us alive. So it is a type of catalyst. And here's what you can see the difference in a catalyzed versus an uncatalyzed reaction. A lot of times we deal with salts. Remember, salts are ionic and they dissolve in water. So this becomes very useful to us when we are made predominantly of water. And so it's a useful molecular tool for the body to use. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Carbohydrates are another organic molecule. Monosaccharides are the smallest component. They build into polysaccharides. We also sometimes see disaccharides. We have lipids and fatty acids. The fatty acids can be saturated or unsaturated. A saturated fatty acid has all of the possible hydrogens that could bond to the carbons are present, whereas in an unsaturated carbon or unsaturated fatty acid, the carbons have some double bonds and so therefore prevent the hydrogen from bonding. We have steroids, and phospholipids are types of lipids that we will see throughout the body. And then, like I said, amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, and proteins have lots of different functions that they do throughout the body. Enzymes are a specific type of protein that carries out a specific function. And something that you need to understand is if we break the bonds that form the 3D shape of a molecule, we change the shape and function of that molecule. So nucleic acids and nucleotides are their monomer. So this is the things that are genetic material. Here are the bases and the base pair rules for DNA and RNA. And then in here we have ADP, ATP, and AMP. Adenosine triphosphate, you can see it is basically it is the base components of a an RNA, adenine, nucleotide, and depending on how many phosphate groups we add, we determine the name. So this would be adenosine monophosphate, this would be adenosine triphosphate, and then we'd have adenosine diphosphate in the three there. And that's these three phosphate groups. And this is the energy molecule that the cells use. This is the thing that we use to power the cell. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention that you might hear throughout the year is some functional groups. We might talk about We might talk about aldehydes or some ketones, some esters. We might talk about some alcohols, ethers, thiols. And so this is the naming scheme for organic chemistry in a little graphic. The basic building blocks of each of these is shown in the color that you see there. And then what makes them unique are these functional groups, which are represented by R. So you can kind of see what those functional groups look like. And so they can give you kind of the basic shape there. And that's going to wrap out our chemistry review. Very swift review, but it is something that I think will be kind of handy for you as we move through the different units for anatomy.